Hey folks, welcome back to The View, our second of the Playoff View podcasts, interviews, chats, whatever way you want to call it, leading into the playoff final against Southampton. Delighted to say I've got Adam Pope from BBC with me as well, or should I say from Don't Go to Bed Just Yet podcast, who has been hobnobbing it with Rockstar since the last time I spoke to him. Adam, how have you been, mate?
All right, yeah, I'm all right. It's been a long campaign, but it has been helped having Simon Ricks from the Kaisers along the way for discussions like you have as well. So, hey, look, it's not like we've been short of things to talk about this season, have we?
We're never short of things to talk about at Leeds, but this season, I've described it this week as it's been a weird season. It's felt like a slog and a really long season at points, and then at other parts of the season, it feels like it's just flown along. Like since Christmas, it seems to have gone so quickly, but then when you think back to the start of the season, it feels so long ago and such a slog those early months of the season. How do you feel the season's gone for Leeds, Adam? Again, looking at it, I suppose in its totality, where we were at the start versus where we are now.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think at the start, if you go back to July the 4th and, the incoming of Daniel Farke, then did I expect them to be in this position come the end of the season? I thought they'd be in the playoffs, yeah. But what I would say, come September, I thought they were going to be second, but probably a long way behind Leicester. And I felt that way because the way he talked at the beginning of the season, the way he mapped it out, and the way August went, which he said would be a struggle, etc. And then with the players that he brought in, I thought this squad is going to go and do something. And I just felt I had a confidence in him from the off. So ultimately, I suppose they have ended up pretty much how I thought it would do before, just as he arrived. But there is that tinge of disappointment that they didn't quite get it over the line. But still, with everything that's gone on, Jay, I think a phenomenal effort to be where they are. So, yes, I'd have taken this definitely come last July.
Yeah, he's talked an awful lot in recent weeks about possibly lack of experience. Do you think that that's ultimately, in that little blip that Leeds had after the international break, I know there was extenuating circumstances, a international break that I don't feel there's any merit to have in March. It's a silly time of the season to have an international break, considering how much is on the line for everybody else. But also then coming back with Ilya Gruev picking up an injury who had become really important in the midfield for Leeds. Then you had the disappointment of the Welsh players. Do you think the inexperience contributed to the drop-off, or do you think it was more a case of just losing those key players at the wrong time of the season?
Yeah, isn't it funny how we're talking about Gruev being a key player now in the latter stage of the season, when at the beginning he just looked fairly ordinary, to be fair. And also the latter stage of the season has been the worst part of the season as well in many ways in terms of the results anyway. But he's certainly grown. And his injury particularly was annoying because, yes, he was established himself, but it was like needless game for him as well. More needless than the international break itself, I felt. So yeah, the thing is, he wasn't experienced in a Leeds team. That's the only thing I would say, or in Championship football. The inexperience that you're referring to, I feel, was the way that Daniel Farke, talked openly towards the back end about how he felt that he really needed the likes of Dan James and Patrick Bamford back in the fold because of their injuries. You see that weird one with Dan James. We've got used to Bamford being injured, let's be fair. But then not being around in the sort of to be picked in the first end, I think he felt was a real blow to Leeds then. So that's where I think he referred to the inexperience. I wouldn't say it's because the likes of Archie Gray and others were struggling particularly. Certainly not Archie. Jorginho's more so, but I think that was more down to injury, more so than maybe not having a good body of work behind him, which he has now. He's been here 18 months pretty much. So. And when you look at the younger players, I don't think any of them froze or anything like that. But certainly I think there was a feeling that, a couple of players that have been through it had some Premier League experience. Bamford's obviously had the promotion with Leeds in the past. I think he felt that was missing. And at a time when they were stretched somewhat, you could pretty much pick the team, couldn't you, bar maybe one or two changes. So, yeah, it wasn't the failing of the youngsters. It was more just injury that caused it. So I think you bang on to say that the injuries have been fairly costly to Leeds, particularly in that run-in.
I always say it's a strange international break. I think they said it last year as well. You've got teams fighting for titles and promotions and other teams fighting for relegation, and then you throw in this random international break with 6 weeks, 7 weeks to go in the season, and it kind of upsets the apple cart for a lot of teams. But it is what it is, and we have to deal with it. But we've managed, Adam, to try and turn it around, I suppose, the right way. The 2 games against Norwich City. The way I kind of looked at this, I feel like Farke got his tactics bang on when you put both games together and kind of look at it as 2 halves of football. I think he got it spot on. But what were your thoughts after the first game going into the second game? Because I know I wasn't massively confident going into the second leg, but then to see the performance the Leeds put on was incredible. Some of the best performances I think I've seen from the Leeds side, especially under that amount of pressure. But what were your thoughts on it?
Well, I agree with you on that latter point there, Jay, definitely. I think with everything that was at stake, it was tremendous. And if I go back over the years, I'm hard pushed to think of a better performance with all the sort of different parameters and aspects that were going into that game, particularly where they'd come from when you look at the QPR game not long before. The away game at Norwich, it was going into it was a weird feeling for me, Jed, because I felt every side in the playoffs, maybe bar Southampton, were going in fairly flat, and nobody seemed to be that excited about it. And I don't know whether that's because, you know, what sort of Premier League experience awaits at the other end or not, or whether it was sort of, wow, this has been a long season, we've fallen sort of towards the last, we've got to lift ourselves, where's this performance coming from? So I don't think there was any great expectation. But once you got to Norwich, got inside the ground, and to be fair to them, they did lift the atmosphere themselves. I thought it was a really good display, and I thought he set up, obviously, with the 3 in midfield that we hadn't really been used to seeing before with Kamara, Grove and Gray, in such a way that helped stifle Norwich to a large extent. I think, was it 13 shots on goal, lowest in the championship or something? I thought it was a really consummate display. And the feeling I left with, Joe, was that the final 20 minutes, Leeds were definitely on top. I felt Norwich had thrown everything at them, and I thought they're finishing stronger here. And that was the bit that gave me a slight bit of confidence, or, well, not slight, but more confident that they would win the game at Ellen Road than Norwich would. But then I have to say, when I saw Sargent and Barnes get off the coach, I knew Sargent had trained on his own the day before, so I knew they were struggling to get him fit. Then I thought, oh, Barnes, if you get the Barnes that you don't want, that's when he's aggressive on the right side of crazy and he's damaging. But when you get the Barnes that you do want as an opponent, then that's exactly what you got. So I was shocked at how poor Norwich were, but I'm taking nothing away from this. I thought they were brilliant cheers. So did I see them walking away with it? No, I thought it might be a cagey affair, but that atmosphere and that explosiveness from second one was incredible. So, fancy them to do it, but not in that manner. I thought it was outstanding, and that obviously gives me more confidence than maybe I had a week or so ago about what's coming on Sunday.
I think it's lifted everybody at the right time. I think everyone has kind of looked at that and went, okay, you've peaked. Because we saw not only the performance from the whole team, but individual performances as well. We saw Joel Piro play as an actual number 9, but actually not just be named as the number 9, but stay in that position and play well. I thought he had a fantastic game. He's involved in 3 goals. He scores one himself. He's involved in the build-up for 2 others, which we haven't seen from him this season. And you wonder, where's this been all year? But hugely important performance. Jorginho Rutter finding his form again in spectacular style as well. And then I keep coming back to the midfield too of Kamara and Grue. When they click together, it's a very hard team to play through, and that's going to be important, obviously, with Southampton. But Joel Piro is a number 9, Adam, from the Norwich second leg of the Norwich game. Your thoughts on that, but also heading into the Southampton game, has he done enough to keep that spot? If Pat Bamford does pop back up as fit and available, you don't change that, surely, do you?
I'm with you, Joe. I think you keep it as it is. I mean, that was everything worked, didn't it? From 1 through to 11, in a way that it didn't at QPR, Joe, which really, really shocked me, because I thought that particular game, although Piro was more like the 10, I thought that'd be perfect for him. And what he did against Norwich at Ellen Road was everything I wanted to see from him. From his first touch, do you remember? It was that like spinning little touch around the corner.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just prime Piro, which I felt if that had turned up at QPR, I really think we'd be having a different conversation, already celebrating promotion. I just felt he was so bad that night. He was so wonderfully good this night. So I wouldn't change it. Yeah, because I think he's the best finisher at the club, to be quite honest. So, and I'd leave him in at the 9 there. I don't see Bamford being ready, because I think he's even said this week that if he is fit, he's probably not going to start, and he's not really match fit to start. So I think you're looking at a bench situation for Pat if he's available. I wouldn't change a thing. Similarly though with Ruta as well. I mean, you've seen the worst of him at times, but yeah, he roared back to his best, and he's almost unplayable, Joe, I think, when he's at his best, isn't he? Because I asked him this week, went up to see the players on Monday, and I said, what's in your brain? I'd love to know, when you're picking a ball at miles away from goal inside your own half. And I think he's so instinctive that nobody really knows how to deal with him. And to be quite, I've not seen anybody like him, Joe. I can't think of anybody so big and so powerful in many ways, almost doesn't realise his own strength, but yet so skillful, that can do amazing things with the ball. Yes, he could finish better, but that's why I think he's primed best in that number 10 role, if you like, behind Piro, I'd say, coming into Sunday. When they're firing, I think that's going to be the key for me. And let's be honest, Daniel Farke's basically said, hasn't he, we need prime Jorginho back. And when it's there, that for me, yes, Somerville, that for me will be the difference.
It'll be an interesting one against Southampton. Obviously, we've played Southampton second last game of the final game of the season. Didn't go particularly well at Ellen Road. Lots of the ball, but didn't do a whole lot with it, and they were far more effective with the ball than we were. And if you look at both games this season, they put 5 goals past us in 2 games. They've kind of overran the midfield of Leeds twice. And Will Smallbone, I keep saying this as an Irish person, to see Will Smallbone playing the way against Leeds he's played is like prime Diego Maradona. I wish he'd played like that for Ireland sometimes, but it's the space they've been given, and the way that they set up with the 3 they have in the middle and the 2 up front kind of stretches Leeds a little bit. But the midfield is going to be massively important in this game for Leeds to get a grip of and to be able to, I suppose, nullify Southampton, but also capitalise and get to the prime Leeds that you were talking about there, and prime Jorginho Rutter and getting him space. Across the pitch, like I've said, midfield, but where do you think the key battle is going to be in this for Leeds? Like, where do Leeds need to win here in order to win the match? Well,
I think if the front four is whichever he goes with, I think will beat anybody on their day. So the difference to me is like where they can shore up their weaknesses, if you like. And I think you pointed to it there with the midfield. For me, the midfield is, for this season, has never quite been as good as its potential. Either Kamara might not have been quite on it. Gruev's taken a while to come into it. Yes, we put Archie Gray in there at times too. And, let's be honest, he's been fantastic at right back, but yet to see his full array of skills maybe in that midfield. But the other day, Kamara and Gruev, as you say, was so powerful, so good, breaking lines, driving forward. But I worry about that midfield a little bit, because I'm agreeing with Smallbone is having a great tap, particularly against Leeds this season. I think he was great in their semi-finals as well. Aribo to come to the fore. And you look at that midfield, if you go back to the Southampton away game, when they played slightly different than they had players back from injury, they had players back from suspension. Russell Martin's on the brink of being sacked, and that team they put together, got on the front foot, went straight at Leeds and was 3 up in 35 minutes, I think it was. And that's how devastating they can be. And I thought a lot of it was based out of their midfield that day. So although Leeds' defence was vastly different to the one we have now, I think Shackleton was in there, wasn't it? I think he hadn't brought back Loden from suspension, hadn't either. Strout was in there, etc. And he was obviously injured, and Cooper and co. So it was very different to the one that's been set up for so long. So for me, it is the midfield that we've got to get hold of. And if they're on it, then I think Leeds have got a complete unit, because we know that the back 5, essentially, even though he's tinkered with a little bit, again, they've been as good as anybody this season for large spells, haven't they? So key area at midfield, if the front 4 are on it, then they're unlivable with.
We've got the lovely the actuality of having VAR for the final as well. We've managed to go an entire season and enjoy football without a 15-minute pause and wait, but we all try and figure out what's going on the pitch. Do you think this is going to have an impact in the game? It's not something I'm looking forward to. I would have rather had it without VAR, but what are your thoughts on this for the final, especially considering the players haven't been used to it this season?
Yeah, I'm in sync with you. I think one thing I do like is that Jared Gillett, who I've been impressed with the referee since he's been over from Australia, he's been here a long time. I've always liked him. I thought he was very good in the Norwich game of the week, so I'm hoping it's in good hands. In a nutshell, I've done a 180 on VAR once at the beginning. As soon as I saw Leeds in the Premier League and having to go through that and witness it, and I know there were no fans in the stadium at the time. Awful. I really don't want to. I've enjoyed the Championship this season so much more And it has had its faults. And, we can all pick out, a handful of instances that have gone against Leeds, but similarly, ones that have gone for too. So I put my trust in the officials. Yeah, it's something I've sort of been, I've sort of waved the banner quite a lot about it, because I know when we've done work with the local FAs here, and when they've talked about, particularly about the Premier League refs and the teams that have been put together, that they get the majority of, not just the majority, they get like high 90% of the decisions right when it's looked back of the key decisions. So for me, leave it as it is. I think it's eroded the authority of the referee. So I'm not looking forward to that, I've got to be honest. And it's bound to play a part, whether it be not enjoying a goal in the immediacy or something controversial. We had one as a station, we were down in 2000 and where was it? A couple of years ago, sorry, with Huddersfield against Nottingham Forest. And for us, Huddersfield denied 2 clear goals on the day, 2 clear penalties. And I just felt it just spoilt the occasion for all those fans that went there. And I just hope that doesn't become a deciding factor this weekend, as you say, after having a season which we've largely enjoyed, haven't we, in the way it's been initiated.
Yeah, it has gone both ways. I think that should be fair to say. There's been Daniel Ferguson talked about the amount of penalties that Leeds could have had or offside goal, but then also Pat Bamford scored a goal with his elbow and Willian Gnonto was offside against Borough. So it does kind of eventually even itself out, I suppose, a little bit, but I just hope we come out of the game, the conversations about the football and performances and not VAR and a decision that VAR made. You hope that's not the conversations in the pubs and everywhere else afterwards, but it's fingers crossed. As you said, Jared, I was excellent in the Norwich game, went completely unnoticed. I think that's a fantastic sign of a really good referee. You just don't notice him in the game. Did a great job. So, yeah, fingers crossed that he's looking after that. 2 bits of stats that came in from Andrew Dalton, LUFC stats, that he sent over. One is get your money on Junior Firpo and Joe Piro. Piro scoring at Wembley. Players wearing the number 3 shirt have scored in 3 of the last 3 times Leeds have been at Wembley. Cooper in 68, Trevor Cherry in 74, and Dorigo in 92. And Cantona wearing 7 scored a hat-trick in 92. So Joe Piro and Junior Firpo should be your best for the weekend for goals. And he also said that the last time Leeds won in Wembley was a general election year. And yesterday, obviously, the general election was announced as well. So everything's going our way, Adam. All the stars are shining on us for this, right?
It's amazing that I have learned that to try and ignore like historical trends if I can. And really, this is what happens, isn't it, Joe, as well? As fans, which we all are, obviously, of the game, and we've all, and being aware of the history, it bears down on us, and it can exude onto the pitch stuff like, negative stuff as well, if you're not careful. And there was a concern ahead of Ellen Road and the whole playoff thing the other night. It was to cope with really well. They're really interesting stuff. But right now, like, in terms of what's the meaningful statistics that are going to affect this weekend? And right now, everything goes out the window, doesn't it? The only thing that I really lean on, if I'm honest, is that I think of what happened in the last game and the vibe that I get from going up on Monday, speaking to Ruta, Piro, Liam Cooper, who knows could be his last appearance in the lead shirt if he gets on the pitch, etc. The vibe is really, really good, and I sort of like to read into that quite a bit, to be honest, Joe. So, but who would have fancied to score? Piro's ready for it. If ever a guy is motivated to be a Premier League player, and in his calm, laid-back way, with a speed to him, he is so desperate to. Having obviously when he arrived at Swansea, I think they'd missed out in the final. So I look at him and I think, there's a steely determination to get this job done. But I would certainly back Piro to be on the score sheet, I would say. But Firpo, he took a lot unlucky at Norwich with that marginal offside. But I tell you what, he's turned it round though. To be fair to him, has he? And that's, is he? Look, is there in any parallel universe here? Does he play Byram at left back and Archie at right back, or Connor Roberts at right back, and changes midfield, and Firpo doesn't get a start? I think for the first time in a long time, I feel that he's as secure in that position as he has been.
One of the first names on the team sheet, I'd say right now, because he's been so good since the turn of the year. I don't think anybody saw this coming. I really don't think anybody saw a position where we're all at the end of the season talking about how well Junior Firpo has played this season and how much of a shoe-in he is for the playoff final. So it's been fantastic. I'm delighted for him. I'm glad he's turned around. Was pretty critical of him back in the last season, but I think he's shown this year there was never any question marks around what he adds attacking to Leeds, because his overlapping runs are brilliant. His cross is fantastic. The question mark was always around defensively, what could he do? And I think he's improved on that in the last couple of weeks and months as well. So, Adam, I'll let you go because I know you're busy, but wanted to just get a final piece off you. How confident are you feeling going into the game, and what's your thoughts on the results?
Yeah, well, I'm a lot more confident than maybe I felt a couple of weeks ago. I don't put too much on that Southampton game at Ellen Road, to be quite honest with you, Jed, because I felt it was a specific set of circumstances. Southampton had known their fate, that they were going to be forfeit for a little while. Leeds obviously had to go for it, and I'm not saying that they wouldn't have gone for it even if things had been better down at Portman Road, or there'd been a better situation between Ipswich and Huddersfield Town. But once the first goal went in, I think, and then Leeds are still chasing, then I think it wasn't a true reflection. Southampton had played that day in a way that they hadn't been doing more recently. They'd been very sideways and backwards, according to Southampton fans that I'd spoken to. However, I think we have seen a bit more of the real self of what they're capable of, over the 2 legs of the playoffs. I am confident, but not stupidly so, definitely. I just feel, look, pound for pound, Leeds turn up and play sort of anywhere near what we saw the other night, then I think they will be too much for Southampton. However, Southampton got some threats or Leeds. I know you mentioned already. You've got Dan James. Even if he doesn't start, what a weapon to bring on. They're trying to get Ross Stewart more into things in the last few weeks. I know he's been very bit part because of his injury, what have you. But when you look at Armstrong in particular, I think is a real threat, and that midfield. I'm hoping for an open game, if you like, Joe, and I think that would suit Leeds if that's the case.
Yeah.
So I'm still confident, but I do think it'll be tight, although I think it might be quite entertaining as well.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game. I have an awful fear in the back of my head of an extra time winner, but if we're going to do it, we'll do it the dramatic way. Why not? Adam, massive thanks as always for dropping in and having a chat with us. Well done, and congrats to everyone on the podcast. It's brilliant. I listen to it every week. I love it. I think you guys are doing a cracking job. So, enjoy the final, enjoy Wembley, and have a great time. And I'm very jealous, but I hope you have a fantastic time, Adam. Thanks very much.
Well, I hope you get a ticket. If not, enjoy your beers in Dublin, and well done with your podcast too, Jeff. Fantastic stuff.
Appreciate it, mate. Thanks very much.